Mark, let me ask you this, because I'll ask you a question about your career because I think it's real phenomenal what you've been doing. But let me stay with Deflategate for a second because my opinion is a tad bit different from Skip in this respect. I think you have a right to know.
Yes, sir.
I don't give a damn if Tom Brady was throwing Nerf footballs. As far as I'm concerned, he's still one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen.
Thank you.
Nothing can impugn his greatness as a quarterback. My only issue is I find it very hard to believe that the guy who touches the balls more than anybody else, which is the quarterback, knew absolutely nothing about the balls being deflated. How do you feel about people? What do you think about people who think that kind of thought about it?
Everybody has their own opinion, and they're entitled to it. It doesn't affect how I feel or how I think, and how I view the game in particular, or the situation. So, God bless them. They must be Jets fans. Got to be Jets fans.
I got you. Go ahead, Skip.
In your career, you played a basketball player and a pro football player, boxer. You've had aspirations to be, at one point, maybe even a professional golfer. Would you give up all that you've achieved, which is a lot, to be one of those guys, to be a Tom Brady?
If you'd asked me that question 10 years ago, yes. But now I'm pretty satisfied with my job and my position. And, the ability to have longevity. I've always kind of approached my career as an athlete would, and knowing that you've only got a certain amount of time to really perform at the highest level. But, you look at Denzel and guys like that, those guys are still doing it, for a long time. So, they got the third quarter and the fourth quarter. It could still be on top.
Which of those athletic roles did you feel most comfortable playing?
Probably Mickey Ward.
Really?
Yeah, Mickey Ward.
As a boxer.
Yeah. And especially Mickey being a Boston guy. I mean, obviously Boston is a great sports town, right? But Mickey was from Boston. He was one of us, We felt like, okay, we could do what he did. And, that role took like 4.5 years to get the movie made. And so I continued to train. And I wanted to look and feel like a guy who could win the welterweight title.
Let me transition, from this perspective. I mean, I loved you in The Departed, but I also loved you in Four Brothers. I love you in Transformers, Two Guns with you and Denzel as well. You've played a myriad of roles. If somebody asked you, how did you get to this point where the level of versatility that you've put on display has obviously been sensational, but how did you pull it off? What would your answer be to them? How did you get to this point in your career where you were able to pull off such, just an amalgamation of things, so many different things that you've done?
Putting in the work, the time and effort and preparation, I've always felt like, and I've always looked at my career being a marathon, not a sprint, and kind of growing slowly, working with good people that will always kind of elevate your game, but being prepared, I work much harder than everybody else, I know it's also being in the right place at the right time. Luck has a little bit to do with it, but for the most part, it's about preparation.
Let me transition back to sports. I want to transition back to sports because I happen to know that you're a fan of Manny Pacquiao. So I have to ask you your thoughts about Manny Pacquiao. Now, I love Manny, Mark. I really, really do. But I knew he was going to lose to Floyd because I knew that Floyd was a defensive wizard. I'm so sorry that you and others disagreed with me. I must ask you, as you look at Manny getting ready to end his career, what kind of thoughts come through your mind about Manny Pacquiao, particularly when the last time you saw him in the ring, he tore his rotator cuff, missing about 400 blows?
Well, I think it was torn in training, but
thank you.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm
not sure about that.
I was at Wild Card, but even funny. I mean, Manny's a great guy. I love the family man that he is. He's a devout Catholic. It's all about his family, and he and I share that. But I'm getting phone calls after the fight from a Vegas number, from a 702 number, and I think it's Dana White because it's like, Mark, call 911. So finally, I call back. I'm like, hello? He's like, it's Floyd, Mark. What's up? I'm like, Floyd? Shouldn't you be out celebrating right now? He's calling me 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been friendly with Floyd for a long time, too. And I know he was upset that I liked Manny, but Manny and I were just friendly. And Floyd, can arguably say now that he's one of the greatest right there with Rocky Marciano. You know, but I think timing-wise.
So wait, was he trying to rub it in, or?
Oh, he rubbed it in. Yes, he rubbed it in.
And did you take it well?
I took it well. I took it on the chin. You know, I was a man about it. You know, he won the fight. He's one of the greatest of all time. But you know, Manny was he's a friend of mine. You know, so I was going to root for him, and you know, I thought if anybody had a chance, he had a chance. But yeah, Floyd rubbed it in. Then I saw him at a Clipper game, and he rubbed it in again. I took it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So give us some insight into your partner in this movie, Will Ferrell, and his comedic genius. Let's go back to Anchorman, his breakthrough. It got lukewarm at best reviews, and as you know, it has emerged as a classic. Now it's those same critics now have a top 5 all-time comedies. Yeah. Give us your thoughts on what worked in Anchorman and why he is so gifted at what he does.
Well, I mean, it's a God-given gift to be that funny, but what's so special about him and what makes him different is that his comedy comes from a nice place. Most comics you meet, they're kind of dark, weird guys, right?
It's true.
I mean, I remember seeing, I don't want to say somebody's name, the first famous person I saw in Hollywood was a famous comedian. And I yelled out his name and waved, and he turned around and gave me the finger. Oh. And I was like, and I confronted him about it 20 years later. He came to see
Were you kind of a nobody at this point?
Yeah, I was just a kid. It was the first time in L.A. Okay. And then he came to see me after screening Boogie Nights. I said, oh, we actually met before briefly. But Will is just a nice guy. His comedy comes from a nice place. He enjoys making people laugh. He also is a nice family man. You know, his personal life and his professional life are very different. And he's great to work with, you know, and he wants other people around him to succeed as well. He has a producer mentality like myself where, you know, if you're good in the movie but nobody else is, the movie's not going to work. And he really worries about the movie as a whole. And, you know, that's a rare thing.
And he's extemporaneous, right? Just riffing off.
Oh, yeah, we'll go. One of his favorite things to do is get me to ruin a take by laughing out loud. But we improvise a lot. You know, we'll kind of shoot what's on the page and then we'll just riff. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And do you enjoy that, Mark? I mean, because, listen, you're from the streets of Boston, and you know, you're no punk. You're pretty hardcore yourself. But you're talking about a guy that's just fun-loving, very affable, and just a nice, decent guy. You know, people who know you to be that way as well, but you don't take any mess from anybody either. So do you enjoy that, the softer side, or are you more comfortable with what you're more familiar with, which we know to be a harder side?
No, it's nice to be able to finally let your guard down and just be a 44-year-old man who, the only time Will and I have any difference is about sports. Whether we're playing sports against each other or we both, while we're making this movie, travel to Arizona for the Super Bowl, and him being a big Pete Carroll Seahawks fan, that was the only time we had an issue, you know. But and we know how that turned out.
And what was that issue like? Enlighten us. What was that issue like? He was rooting for Pete Carroll in Seattle, and that was against your Patriots. What was that like, Mark?
I just kept asking him after the game, if I could have Pete Carroll's number to call him and thank him for throwing that ball to Malcolm Butler. I mean, my God, we were
Super Bowl history.
We were in. You know, I never gone to a Super Bowl because I get too upset if they lose. But I promised my sons, I said, if the Patriots go to the Super Bowl, I'll go. And, you know, we went from celebrating, of course, in the owner's box to now all of a sudden there's the tip pass and, you know, he caught the ball. And, you know, security's now leaving that owner's box to go to the other owner's box because now you're not going down to the field to celebrate. And then, you know, they didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch.
Wow.
I was like, just give him the ball quick and at least maybe we'll get another chance to go downfield and score. Something happened, you know, a miracle happened on our side, and it actually did.
So do you ever sit back now after all you have achieved and think, how did this kid from this rough neighborhood in Boston get to here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, you know, it's one of those things where that's why I try to do so much with inner city kids and with our foundation and at-risk youth. And I talk to a lot of athletes and kids coming up who find themselves in a position like this that, you know, it wasn't supposed to happen. And most of my friends are dead or in jail. And, you know, that's why I'm so fortunate.
What did you do differently? Where was that turning point?
Well, when I got in trouble, and I was like, you know what, I don't like this. This is not for me. I don't like being told what to do and when to do it. And then, but I knew I needed to do the right thing. And when I started working hard and doing the right thing, good things started happening. So, you know, I just got to be an example in that way, you know, to my kids and to other kids growing up in situations like that. There isn't anything you can't accomplish. The only way you do it is the right way. Working hard, you know, athletics, you got to do it the right way. You got to be natural, you know. So those are the keys for me.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So appreciate the time. This was
Thank
fun.
You guys.
Hope you get to enjoy
you,
the holiday season a little bit. Kind of a busy year for you. So.
Yeah, oh, crazy with the kids and everything else.
Of course. Daddy's Home in theaters Christmas Day. Make sure to check that out. And the Cowboys up next. They now trail the other 3 teams in the NFC East by 2 games with 3 to play. So is Skip finally ready to let it go?
No.
Find out next.
No.
You gotta stay focused.